What if 6 shots were all you needed to make your drone footage look cinematic every single time? I spent years flying randomly, hoping something would look good, until I locked in this system. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what they are and why together they make even beginner footage look professional. Every time I fly, there's one thing I always do. I run through these 6 shots in order. If I miss one, my edit suffers from it, and I call this the hexagon of cinema. 6 specific moves, one on each point of the shape, and together they cover everything you need to make your footage look cinematic every time you fly. And just to show you what you can get with a beginner drone, I'll be using the I just bumped the microphone. I'll be using the Potensic Atom 3. But stick around to the end as well, because I'll also show you what the final edit looks like when you put all these shots together. So point 1 on the hexagon of cinema is the wide shot, and this is where most beginners go wrong before they even started editing. When I first got a drone, I did what everyone else does. I went up high as I could, pointed the camera at anything that looked interesting, and kept changing direction every few seconds, trying to capture everything at once. But when I got home and watched it back, the footage was all over the place. It was erratic and confusing to watch. And here's the thing about a wide shot. Its entire job is to show you, the viewer, the environment they're in. That's it. It's not about finding the most exciting angle or covering as much ground as possible. It's about context. When I have this drone up high today over this bridge at Monbulk, I want the viewer to see the forest, the tracks disappearing into the trees, the scale of it all. And the only way that works is if I pick one direction and then commit to it, like this move here. So the rule of this is very simple. You just pick your move, whether it's flying forwards or doing an orbit or filming straight down. You need to make sure you fly in one clean direction for at least 10 seconds without correcting your flight or your camera. So what that means is no jerky adjustments and no second guessing mid-shot. Learning that one thing transforms erratic footage into something that feels planned, and when it looks planned, it looks cinematic. Now, most beginners, once they've nailed that wide shot, they jump straight down to flying low, and that's exactly where your edit will lose its flow. See that? I'm a poet. This next point fixes that. Point 2 on the hexagon is the medium high shot, and this is the one most beginners don't even know exists. Now, most people fly high or they fly low when they've got their drone. They never stop in the middle, and I was the same for a long time. I kept skipping this height because I didn't think it was doing anything interesting. And look, overall, I was happy with my drone footage. It looked fine, but it felt a little bit cold, like I was just documenting a landscape rather than telling a story about it. The moment I started deliberately stopping at medium height and shooting from there, something shifted. The videos felt more personal, like the viewer was inside the scene with me rather than just looking at it from a distance. And here's why that happens. A medium high shot still shows the environment. You've got context, you've got scale, but because you're lower, the subject of your video feels more of the frame and the viewer feels closer to the action. At this bridge in Monbulk in Victoria, Australia, this means dropping down from your wide shot altitude until the timber structure starts to dominate the frame, then running the same kind of clean move you used before, which is one direction for 10 seconds with no corrections. Think of this as a wide shot that pulls the viewer in. The wide shot says, here's where we are. The medium shot says, and here's what it feels like to be here. And together they create the beginning of a story, and that's exactly what separates cinematic footage from a landscape documentary shot. Another problem that people face is that most drone pilots never get close enough, and it's not laziness, it's nerves. This next point is about getting over that, and it changes everything about how your footage feels. Point 3 on the hexagon of cinema is the close-up, and this is the shot where most beginners never even think to try with the drone. And I get it, when you're flying a drone near trees and bridges like this, getting close feels very risky. Your instinct is to back off and give yourself room, because the last thing you want to do is clip a railing and watch your drone drop into the forest. So because of that, most people just don't do it, and their footage suffers for it without them even knowing why. The reason I started using close-up shots with a drone came from my time working as a camera operator on film sets. After years of doing that, I realized that the same shot types we used on the ground, wide shots, medium shots, and close shots, and so on, all translate directly to drone work. A close-up on a film set adds detail, texture, and intimacy to a scene, and it does the same thing in drone footage. So as an example, at this bridge, that means getting the drone in close to the timber framework so you can see the weathered wood grain and the rusted bolts. These shots don't need a dramatic move. A slow creep forward or a gentle sideways drift is enough. And that's because the subject does all the work. Close-ups don't replace the establishing shots, they just add to them. They're the next step. So now you've gone wide, you've come in close, you've pushed into the detail, and now I'm going to ask you to do something that goes against every instinct you have as a drone pilot. And that shot is the extreme close-up. And if close-up shots made you nervous, this one is going to make your palms very sweaty. And I know what that feels like firsthand, because when I got my first Potensic Atom 1, which is the first model of this drone, I tried to get in really close to a pier for an extreme close-up shot. I clipped the railing and the drone dropped straight down into the sand. After that, I started thinking differently about how to get these shots safely, and the answer was already sitting right in my controller the whole time. Just about every beginner drone has a zoom function, and that's exactly how we solved this. Instead of flying the drone dangerously close to the timber framework of this bridge, I back off to a safe distance and use 2 times digital zoom. No more than 2 times, because if you push it further, the image quality degrades enough to show in your edit. But at 2 times, you can get a clean, tight, detailed shot without putting your drone at risk. If you're flying something like a DJI Air 3S, you've got a fixed zoom lens as a second camera, which is even better. But on the Potensic Atom 3, this drone right here, 2 times digital zoom does the job perfectly. So on this bridge, that means pulling in tight on the individual timber beams, the bolt heads, the weathered grain of the wood, or the tracks. And these are details that wides and medium shots just can't reach. Even close shots don't get enough detail. That's what makes the edit feel richer. So you've got your extreme close-up safely in the bag, and now we're going to do something that feels completely wrong. The next point is about not moving at all. So next up is the static shot, and this is the one that surprises people the most. Most beginners overlook it completely, because when you've got a drone in the air, the instinct is to keep it moving because movement feels cinematic, and stillness feels like you forgot to press record. But I learned something on a film set years ago that changed the way I think about cameras entirely. I was filming a dramatic scene with 2 actors in a heated argument, and the director wanted me moving around them to capture the energy of the scene. Halfway through the shot, my gimbal stopped working, basically just malfunctioned, and never worked again after this day, and the only solution we had was 2 cameras on 2 tripods, and they were locked off completely still, and framing was tight and close in on the actors. And what happened when we watched it back was the opposite of what you'd expect. Because the camera was still, every movement the actors made felt enormous. They moved in and out of focus as they argued, and it was raw and personal in a way that moving the camera never would have captured. Because the stillness made you forget about that there was even a camera there at all. And that's exactly what a static drone shot does. When the drone stops moving, the viewer stops being aware of the drone, and whatever is moving in the scene takes over their mind completely. And at this bridge where I was filming, it's the train crossing the bridge that takes the viewer's focus. But sometimes, like in these shots, it's the stillness you're trying to capture. And static shots can be done at any height, any angle, close or far. It just needs to be still. This next point takes that idea even further and adds something most drone pilots would never think to put in their frame on purpose. This is called the dirty shot, and if you've never heard that term before, you're not alone. Most beginners have never heard of it either, and the ones who have accidentally created one of these shots assume they made a mistake and deleted the footage. Now, I first discovered this shot at a friend's wedding years and years ago. I was doing video for my friend's wedding, but the photographer kept carrying a leafy branch around with him. And this was a garden wedding, so everyone was outside, and every time he lined up a shot of the happy couple, he just dangled the branch in front of the lens. And at the time, I thought he'd lost the plot, but then I saw the results. The branch in the foreground made the couple in the middle look like they were part of the garden itself. And those photos were beautiful in their own way, and they could never have looked so good if it was just a clean, normal shot. So I started doing the same thing on real estate videos, and no, I didn't carry a branch around with me. I started to make sure something close to the lens would be in the shot. And when I moved into drone work, I realized that the locations do this job for you. You just have to position the drone to use them. So at this bridge, that means finding a branch, a timber beam, or a patch of foliage, and letting it sit in the edge of your frame while the bridge structure fills the middle, and the forest stretches into the background. And when you do a shot like this, it gives you 3 layers, a foreground, your subject, and a background. And that depth that you create is what makes it personal for a viewer, and it feels like they're standing inside the scene rather than watching it on a screen. So you're probably wondering how all this ties together. Well, here's a quick edit showing exactly how it looks. So now, my faithful viewer, or my friend, I think you're my friend, you now have a system you can use to fly at any location starting today. But here's the thing, knowing your shots is only half of it, because mixing your angles and your altitude is what makes your video come alive in the edit. And that's exactly what I broke down in this video right here. Watch that next.